Today's story is
Prankster Dinosaurs. Imani and Elena stood inside the Arizona State Lottery office in Tucson, the air humming with the possibility of a big win. Imani, sporting a massive, perfectly round afro held by a blue headband and a pair of shimmering hoop earrings, checked her ticket. Elena leaned in, her eyes dancing with excitement. They weren't just looking for money. They were looking for a secret tucked in the back corner of the lobby. Elena nudged Imani, leaning against the polished counter. "Imani, we've been here all morning, and you're so focused on the mission," she teased. "¿Por qué no has hablado español todavía? You usually can't help yourself." Imani laughed, adjusting her headband. "I've been in the zone, Elena. My mind is on the prize, and that weird elevator everyone keeps whispering about." In the corner stood what looked like a regular elevator, but as they approached, the doors didn't slide to the side. Instead, they hissed and pivoted upward like the gull-wing doors of a classic DeLorean. "This is it," Imani whispered, her red lips curling into a grin. "The shortcut to history." Elena looked around to make sure no one was watching as they stepped onto the metallic floor. Inside, the walls were covered in glowing dials and digital readouts. Imani reached for the sleek panel, her fingers dancing over the keys. "Destination, the past," she announced. "June 21st, 1999, Tucson, Arizona." Elena gripped a handrail as the interior began to glow with a pulsing blue light. "Vamonos, Imani. Let's see what the 90s were really like." The world outside the glass panel dissolved into a kaleidoscope of neon colors. The elevator didn't go up. It vibrated until the floor felt like it was disappearing. Imani and Elena braced themselves as a low hum filled their ears. "Hold on," Imani shouted over the sound of shifting time. With a final, silent pop, the motion stopped, and the air suddenly smelled like vintage carpet and desert dust. The doors hissed open, but they weren't in an office. They were inside a cozy, wood-paneled RV parked at 3377 North Kinney Road. Sitting on a small floral-patterned bench was a teenage boy who looked like he had stepped right off a concert stage. Elvis Jr. adjusted his dark sunglasses, his white sequined uniform sparkling under the dim RV lights. "You ladies are late for the show," he said with a cool smirk. Imani stepped out of the RV and gasped. Standing by a cactus was a woman who looked exactly like her, but younger. It was her mother, Patricia. Patricia's afro was just as giant and perfect as Imani's, and she wore a vibrant orange dress that caught the desert sun. "Mom?" Imani whispered. Patricia turned and smiled, her eyes warm. "Do I know you, sugar? You look like you've got some style." A man stepped out from behind the RV, dusting off his hands. He had a giant afro and wore a green t-shirt with bright red boots. It was Jack, Imani's father. "Patricia, who are our guests?" he asked, his voice deep and friendly. Imani felt a lump in her throat. Meeting her parents in 1999 was more incredible than any lottery win. Jack adjusted his belt and gave a friendly nod to the time travelers. A younger girl with a massive afro, wearing a white t-shirt and red pants, bounded over. "I'm Francine," she chirped, looking at Elena. "Is that a new kind of shirt? It looks so futuristic." Elena laughed, pointing to her own red tee. "It's a classic, Francine, just like you." The sisters, separated by time but united by style, shared a look of immediate friendship. Patricia and Jack looked at each other, then back at the strange group. "Well, any friends of Elvis Jr. are friends of ours," Jack said, patting Patricia's hand. The parents stood together, a perfect picture of 1999 style. "We were just about to head out for some fun. Why don't you all join us? There's plenty of room in the desert for everyone." Suddenly, the roof of the RV rattled. A massive figure descended from the sky, the sound of rushing air drowning out the desert quiet. Shaquille O'Neal, looking like a superhero, touched down gently on the sand using a high-tech silver jetpack. Francine watched with her jaw dropped. "The big man is in the building," Shaq boomed, his jetpack hissing as it cooled down. Shaq unbuckled his jetpack and walked over to Imani. "I heard there was a gathering of legends," he said with a wink. Imani couldn't believe it. The Shaq, here in 1999, with a jetpack. "We're heading to the museum," Imani said, regaining her cool. Shaq nodded. "Lead the way, little Afro. I've got my game face on today." As they prepared to leave, 2 more girls joined the group. Sarah, with her bright blonde hair and a yellow shirt, and Elena began chatting about the museum. Sarah adjusted her purple pants, looking eager for an adventure. "I heard they have some amazing new exhibits," Sarah said. Elena nodded. "It's going to be a long day, but it's going to be incredible." Susie arrived last, her fiery red hair tied back. She wore a black shirt and yellow pants, carrying a heavy-looking sports bag. She and Imani bumped fists. "Ready for some rock ball?" Susie asked. Imani laughed. "I think we're going to stick to basketball first, Susie. Shaq might be a bit too fast for rocks." The group arrived at the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum, the heat of June shimmering off the pavement. Shaq and Elvis Jr. led the way, looking like a pair of giants among the cacti. "Check out the fossils," Elvis Jr. said, pointing toward the main entrance. "But keep an eye out. Things around here have a way of getting wild." They found a recreational court near the museum's edge. Shaq picked up a basketball, spinning it effortlessly on one finger. Elvis Jr. stepped onto the court, adjusting his sunglasses. "You might be big, Shaq," Elvis Jr. challenged, "but I've got the rhythm of a king." The game was on, and the desert air was suddenly filled with the rhythm of the bounce. Shaq moved like a force of nature, his shadow stretching across the court. He leaped for a dunk, but Imani darted in, trying to steal the ball. "Not today, Shaq," she yelled. Shaq laughed as he hoisted the ball high above his head. "You've got spirit, kid." Even though he was an ordinary guy in this world, his skills were nothing short of legendary. On the other side of the court, Elvis Jr. was putting on a show for Elena. He dribbled behind his back, his white jumpsuit shimmering with every move. "Watch the feet, Elena," he shouted. Elena played tight defense, her sneakers squeaking on the pavement. "You're fast, Elvis, but I'm faster," she countered, her red shirt a blur of motion. While the game roared on, Susie and Sarah wandered toward a rocky clearing. Susie spotted a perfectly round, heavy desert stone. "Hey, Sarah, check this out. It's the perfect rock ball," Susie said, picking it up. Sarah looked at the glowing minerals embedded in the nearby cliffs. "I don't know, Susie. That rock looks a little different." Susie tried to lift the heavy stone, but the sand beneath her feet was slick. She lost her balance, and the rock ball slipped from her hands, rolling down the incline with surprising speed. "Look out!" Sarah screamed. The rock struck a jagged, glowing crystal at the base of the cliff, and a pulse of neon green energy exploded outward. Susie fell back, shielded by the light. The air around the museum warped, turning thick and green. A magical rift tore through the sky, crackling with temporal energy. Imani and Sarah were caught in the center of the pulse. Imani felt her body stretch and thicken, her orange shirt merging with skin that was turning scaly. Beside her, Sarah's yellow shirt vanished as her skin transformed into a deep, vibrant purple. Elena and Susie were next. Elena's red t-shirt seemed to bleed into her skin as it turned a fierce, ruby red. Susie's red hair smoothed down into a sleek yellow crest as she grew in height and power. "What is happening?" Elena roared, but the sound that came out was a deep, prehistoric rumble. They were no longer teenagers, they were dinosaurs. The transformation was complete. Imani stood tall as a magnificent orange dinosaur, her blue headband now a mark of color on her snout. She looked down at her powerful claws and let out a triumphant roar that shook the very foundations of the museum. She felt stronger than she ever had before. The ultimate prankster dinosaur was born. Elena, now a sleek and fast red dinosaur, stood beside Sarah, who had become a majestic purple creature with a long, sweeping tail. They looked at each other, acknowledging their new forms with a nod of their heavy heads. The desert was fading away, replaced by a humid, primeval atmosphere as the rift pulled them deeper into the past. Finally, Susie joined them, her yellow scales bright against the darkening sky. The four dinosaur girls stood together on the edge of a vast, steaming jungle landscape. With a final, unified roar that echoed through the trees, the prankster dinosaurs headed off into the wild. Their new adventure was just beginning, and the prehistoric world was about to get a lot more interesting.
The end.